Hello. In this video, I'm going to explain problem 13 from the 2013 F equals MA contest. In this problem, we are told that we need to distinguish between whether a ring is actually part of Saturn or instead part of the satellites of Saturn, and we're going to do that by looking at the relation between the velocity and the distance to the layer of the layer to the center of Saturn. So, what happens in these two cases? So let's say a layer is part of Saturn. Well, if something's part of Saturn, then really, so let's say this is kind of viewed from the top, then everything sort of rotates with the same angular speed, right? And so what does that mean? Ultimately, what that means is that omega, the angular frequency, is the same for all parts of Saturn. And well, based on the definition of angle, which is just arc length divided by radius, then we know that the speed is just omega times r. And so what that means is that v is proportional to r for parts of Saturn. Now, on the other hand, what about satellites? Well, satellites are no longer going to rotate with all of Saturn, but now the relevant force, we now need to look at gravity, which will be the relevant force, and see how the velocity changes with radius. Well, suppose we have a circular orbit. So if we're outside Saturn, we can just assume that Saturn is a point mass, and then we have an orbit of radius r, and the object will move at some speed v. And now we can balance the gravity. Suppose that Saturn has mass big M, the object has mass little m. Then the force of gravity is the centripetal force. And so we can equate the formula for centripetal force of an object, which will be m times v squared over r. And that will just be little m times big M times g over r squared, which is from Newton's law of universal gravitation. And from equating these two, we can see, we can cancel out one factor of r, that v is equal to the square root of mg over r, or that v squared is mg over r. And so what that means is that v squared will be proportional to 1 over r for satellites. So now we have these two results. V squared is 1 over r for satellites, and v is proportional to r for parts of Saturn. And now we just need to look at our options, and we see that the only one that is correct is option A. And so that is the correct answer. And that's all there is to this problem. So thank you for watching, and I hope that was helpful.